Fnatic's turn to ban. TNT Fnatic's.
Okay, so we're gonna be taking a look at Fnatic.iceiceice laning stage as Doombringer in the recent what tournament is this? Recent Paris qualifiers. So it's Fnatic up against TNC. We're gonna see how he plays Doom in 2 games, how he plays the laning stage. So this will probably help out those of us who are trying to learn how to play Doombringer in the offlane. I personally like Doombringer a lot. He is very tanky, very self-sufficient. He can earn very high GPM all by himself, and he can solo lane pretty well. So let's see how he does it. This time around, Fnatic decided to put the PA into the top lane, so the safe lane is actually top lane and the off lane is the safe lane. Let me just turn off my music 1 second. Okay, so iceiceice starts off with 1 Tango, Healing Salve, and 2 Mangoes. This gives him a lot of mana to work with, and of course the Ironwood Branch for that little bit of stats. So he goes ahead and devours the range creep first. This is what you always want to start off with. By devouring the range creep, you already start off with an EXP and gold advantage in the lane.
Radiant's courier has been killed.
And you also help to push the crit wave into the enemy tower, which is what you want to do as an offlaner, so that the crit wave will bounce off the enemy tower and go back into yours, so that you get more EXP. Especially since Doombringer is up against one of his natural counters, which is Lifestealer. Normally Lifestealer will be able to out-harass the Doom and out-sustain him. So we'll see how iceiceice plays against this slightly unfavorable matchup. He's got DJ, who is playing Nyx Assassin. He is currently going to support his lane, so we'll see if he stays there. Learns Infernal Blade at level 2 and instantly starts to harass the carry. You notice he is also doing the pulling aggro trick by right-clicking the Lifestealer, so the creeps are now following him. He wants to do this because the Lifestealer can contest him for the last hits as well as harass him very easily, so he wants to keep pulling the creep wave back. He just keeps doing it and doing it, so it's a very effective method to secure your farm. Once Lifestealer is backing off, he gives him 1 more free hit with the Infernal Blade for some casual harass. So Vengeful Spirit is actually contesting the denies, which makes his lane a little bit more annoying, but he's still doing fine. Maybe he should have bought a Quelling Blade so that he gets more attack damage for the denies. Since they're not casting a lot of spells anyway, maybe that would have been a better choice. But then again, I suppose Doom's base damage is very high at 70, so doesn't really seem to be a necessity here. So he's just doing the trick over and over, just pulling the creeps all the way back. Right clicking again, pulling the creeps back. Okay, now you see why Lifestealer is so strong against Doom. You can just regain all the harass damage back and Doom loses even more health than you. So it's a very unfavorable trade. Doom is a strength hero after all with a lot of strength, so Lifestealer's passive does more damage. So you definitely, as a Doom, don't want to be trading with heroes like Lifestealer, Ursa, Monkey King, those that can easily harass you. So he gets the second point in Devour for extra tankability, so that the Lifestealer can't chew through his regeneration that easily. He's trying to just pull as many crits as possible, and then Infernal Blade whenever he has the chance for the harass on the supports. He already gives up trying to harass the Lifestealer with the Infernal Blade because his regen is too much. They might try to kill him here. Actually, might be fine here with the stick and the regen. Yep, he's fine. So you can see the second point in the Devour actually makes him very tanky, enables him to survive. So if you're in a hard lane, definitely max the Devour first. It makes you really hard to kill. Right now, It gives him 50 bonus gold and 8 regen per stack. So that is like almost a tango going on you at all times. Very, very strong for surviving hard lanes. I think he sent out some more regen for himself, and he bought a value Ring of Protection. Ring of Protection is actually very good on Doombringer because he starts off with 0 armor. Just by adding 2 armor, you're already mitigating a lot of right click, which this lane has a lot of. Luckily, DJ hits a very nice impale, and then they will be able to walk out of this free. Very nicely done. So the two of them are covering each other. It's also very interesting the way he uses the Inferno Blade to disengage from the gank attempt, because the previous engagement he actually Inferno Bladed the Lifestealer so that the Lifestealer was delayed from chasing them down, and this time around he Inferno Blades the Earth Spirit to delay the roll as long as possible. Since he knows that the Vengeful already used the stun, he wants to use the Inferno Blade interrupt to stop the next spell that is going to come his way. So there's no point using it on the Vengeful because she already used the stun. Earth Spirit would have just rolled through them and then they might have died. So that was a very important usage of the Inferno Blade here. Don't underestimate the stun because you can use it to interrupt the enemy's crowd control chain. And at level 4 he went for Scorched Earth. This gives him some more additional disengaging abilities. He manages to get the Satyr, is it Satyr? No, it's not a Satyr. It's the net creep. So he has an additional form of crowd control here. Now he's just last setting the creeps here under his tower. So since the Doombringer is so tanky, the supports are actually leaving him alone.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
This is what I like about this hero. You are very tanky, hard to kill, and you can still farm fast with Devour. It's very nice. It's not often that you get a offlaner that can get farm no matter what. Doom is just one of those very stable offlaners. One of my favorite heroes actually.
Dire's structures are fortified.
So now they're making a go on Lifestealer, but I don't think they'll be able to kill him because it's a Lifestealer. He's got reach. So iceiceice is actually using the raised it to push. So that's actually a neat trick that you can do with this creep. It's not just for the net. You can pretty much keep raising that for the skeletons. They act as a meat shield whenever you're committing for a tower. Especially important because they still have the catapult, and the raised dead skeletons can pretty much tank the tower shots for the catapult for as long as possible. So they actually did a lot of damage to the tier 1. So you definitely want to keep an eye out on the item timings, as well as the general timing of the siege waves. Every 5 minutes the siege wave will spawn. Siege creep will start spawning in the lane. So every 5 minutes you want to make sure you're shoving the lane into the enemy as hard as possible. Guts the second point into Scorched Earth. Actually, interesting to note, most pro players seem to be maxing out the Scorched Earth first, because it gives Doom a lot of chasing potential. And the Inferno Blade doesn't scale that well in the early game because everyone's max HP isn't that high anyway. So at level 1 it's enough, more than enough. And also because in this lane, Lifestealer can just rage off the Inferno Blade, so a high level Inferno Blade will be just wasted. You definitely want the Scorched Earth to chase, to initiate, and also to run people down. This is definitely the correct skill build, if I don't say so myself. So he's going for the drums. Phase and drums is actually very popular here on Doom, because it gives you movement speed and attack speed, two things which he really lacks. And not to mention he also gives armor and mana regeneration. So this item is actually very good on Doom. So just now Viper tried to gank him, and since they have no stuns, he just TPs back to base, picks up his items. So that's a very heads up play. Need to recognize what heroes and what abilities are on the enemy team so that you can be ready to TP out very easily. So that's pretty much his laning phase in this game. Just gets, he just plays it safe, uses the Infernal Blade sparingly to survive ganks, and then he uses Devour to keep his regeneration up and ensure that he'll never be forced out of lane. And his skill build, he went for Scorch Earth for the disengage. Haven't really seen him use it much. Maybe we'll see him use it before 10 minutes maybe. As for item builds, he went for Face Boots and Drums, which is very standard and good. On Doom, it gives you a lot of chase, gives you a lot of damage, and gives you armor as well, which is two things which he really needs. We'll see if he tries to make an aggressive go on the Lifestealer here since he has Doom. But I probably won't be able to kill the Lifestealer alone.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack. Radiant are scared.
Actually changes the creep to the Hellbear Smasher as well, so that he gets even more attack speed. I personally like this creep a lot. The Thunderclap gives you some extra burst as well. And it's an additional slow, so that you can slow the enemies for a kill. And now they are moving in for the kill. So you can see the burst damage is insane with this Thunderclap. And he's maxing out the Scorch Earth as what a lot of pros are doing. Alright, so that's it for the laning stage for this game. Let's hop into another game and check out that one. Okay, here we go. Game number 3. This game they drafted Doombringer for iceiceice again. Let's see what's different in this one. Okay, so in this game he is playing in the offlane, the actual offlane now. He started off with the same build, Healing Salve, Tangle, 2 Mangles, and Imo Branch. I think this is a very nice build for offlane Doom. Gives you enough mana regen to keep spamming out the Devours, Scorch Earths, and Infernal Blades. And he immediately goes for the Ring of Protection in the side shot once he sees the lineup that he's against. You got Shadow Shaman with very high base damage, you've got Draw Ranger who is physical. So Ring of Protection, we already saw last game how much of a priority it was. It gives Doom a lot of effective HP, especially in the early game when he has 0 armor. So 2 armor is actually a lot for Doom. Levels up Devour level 1 as always. Uses it to keep the regeneration ongoing. So you can see he's doing the creep aggroing trait once again. We covered this in a previous video where Yang from VG Gaming, this was one of the tricks that he used to get the creep wave in his favor in a hard lane. So this one, iceiceice is outnumbered. He is 2 heroes versus the enemy's tri-lane, so he definitely needs to use tricks like these to eke out as much EXP from the lane as possible. He's got an Undying with him, which makes it slightly easier, and now he's contesting the pool. Yet another must-know trick for offlaners. Unfortunately, Jabs gets tasered by Tims, so he can't really stick around to contest anymore. He actually gets one of the best creeps ever for offlaning, which is the Satyr. So you get 5.5 regen, and with Devour at level 1 you're getting 12 regen a second, which is like more than a Tangle. So now he literally cannot die. This is a priority creep. You always want to be able to find this. Even if you know, can't get this creep to spawn, I think you might even want to go back to your own jungle to look for it, because it's that good. It helps you to sustain your lane. It's insane. It's 12 HP regen at 2 minutes. There's no way they can harass him out of the lane now. It's so good. Cleverly uses the shockwave to get a range creep CS there. Range creep should always be prioritized in the offlane. It's so important. Here we see a variation in his skill build. He opts to go for the Scorch Earth because he knows that against a Drow and a Shadow Shaman, this is a lineup that he won't be able to land the Infernal Blades reliably. Gets 1 value point in it anyway, but he prioritizes the Scorch Earth first. And I expect to see him max it as soon as possible. once you get the Satyr Tormentor, I think you can afford to skip out on some levels of the Devour, since you have the regeneration to make up for it. So you can see him contesting the pool right now. He drags the creeps. He's thinking about catching the next one, but since the creep wave is already under the enemy tower, he decides to just lead these creeps down this way to meet up with his creep wave over here. So it's back to the equilibrium. Just gonna devour the range creep. Always want to devour the range creep, remember? Now he can start using the Scorcher to get away. As you can see, it makes him move very fast. He's thinking of turning on the Shadow Shaman, and he might actually kill him, except he gets baited by the war cry from the Sven. Except he gets the kill in return, so that was actually worth it after all. Very nicely done. And then the Japs comes in for the cleanup on the other hero. So now that he is back in the lane, he respawns, he goes back to pick up mangoes for Japs. So a neat trick that you can do is whenever you die and you return to lane, you can just use this opportunity to bring your team's items to you, because the mid lane, it has priority of the courier at around this time, the laning stage. So you want to minimize usage of the courier as much as possible. Make use of either yourself or your lane support to get all your items. So you can see how tanky he is right now. He is still not dying just yet, but eventually he falls since there's 3 people and there's no way they can survive through that. That was unfortunate, but you could see that they almost managed to kill one of the enemy tri-lane. Very close. So he's doing it again. He is actually transporting Japs some more mangoes. Definitely how you want to play the laning stage. Very nice trick to practice in your games too, because courier usage, once again, very important for the mid lane. Don't want to be using the courier as much as you can help it. You just want to be able to help each other bring your items out.
Radiant are scanning.
Siege creep is very good to devour because you clear it, like you kill it instantly. So he's doing a trick which is actually the offlane side pull. You do this when you want to make the enemy crit wave move into closer to your tower for easy CS. Basically you do what iceiceice did, move into the neutral camp at the side of the lane and then aggro it into your creeps. It's a bit like pulling for the safe lane, except you're doing it in the offlane. It's another nice trick to actually get some easy CS, because you're also denying the wave EXP from the enemy carry. It's a very nice thing to do, and also very easy if the crit wave is all the way under your enemy carry's tower. That way you reduce the chance of them being able to contest it. Unfortunately, the Drow was good enough to actually contest his pool, so you can see how contesting pools gets more and more intense and important the more difficult the games are. Everyone knows how important it is to contest the enemy's pool. So now they're trying to force the Sven away so that they can get the EXP in peace. Manages to get a lot of CS from that. Once again going for the same items. Face boots into drums. Very standard item on Doom. I don't think you should change this at all. Now they're preparing to set up a kill on the Drow. So he actually prepares beforehand by moving into the trees up here so that they're able to ambush the Drow. Unfortunately, the enemy comes in at full force and they would probably only be able to kill the Shadow Shaman there. It's a full force rotation from Armel. He gets stunned up here and he's probably gonna die. But it was a good kill attempt.
The flames rush forth.
That's one way to set up a kill with your support actually. You can just hide in the trees and then use the Scorch Earth to run down into the enemy. it makes you very fast and very hard to dodge. So that would have been a kill on the Drow too if Armel hadn't rotated. Which is also why you want to max out the Scorcher. So we saw how useful it was to set up the gank. So definitely consider maxing this out in the game. Alright. We'll see if anything else happens up to the 10-minute mark, and that will be the end of the laning stage.
Not this time.
So far we've seen how useful various creeps are in certain situations, and also the skill build, which is apparently to max Scorcher. And of course the item builds, no arguments there. You want face boots into drums. It looks like TNC is invading the Radiant jungle, but he decides not to TP because the enemy is already disengaging. So he wants to get his level 6 as fast as possible. There's no point TPing there actually because he's not yet level 6. Can't really respond to a gank at all. So he cleverly holds on to his TP. Sometimes as an offlaner it can be very tempting to TP at the first sign of a fight breaking out. But you need to be aware of your hero's spells and also item timings, together with ability timings as well. If you're not yet 6, chances are you're not going to be much of an impact. It's like if you're playing Pangolier and you TP in to help a fight when you don't have your ultimate, probably you're not going to do much. So be like Exercise, be patient with the TPs, get your levels, get your ultimate, and then think about making rotations. Same thing, he picks up the crown from the side shop. This gives you a very easy way to increase your stats in the laning stage. Alright, and there we go. Around 10 minutes plus, this is when the laning stage starts to come to an end. We've seen how Exercise plays the same hero in, well, different lane situations over 2 games. So hopefully you guys managed to pick up a couple of tips from his gameplay, and we'll catch up in another one.